Hi, I'm Barb.
And I'm Alex.
And we're Enchanterium. In today's video, we'll be doing something a little different. We're unboxing my new smart doll Genesis. I've been following the development of smart dolls since the very beginning of their existence. I remember as a teenager, I stumbled upon a video of Danny Choo showcasing Mirai, the first smart doll. I was very young and broke back then, and it was way before we even knew doll customizing existed. I'm very excited to own this doll now. It's been a dream for a long time. Let's get to it. The doll came in about a week, and we had some minor hiccups with customs, but the Culture Japan store support staff helped us along the way. We show our faces on our Instagram sometimes, but in case you didn't follow us there, which you should, hi, I'm Barb.
And I'm Alex.
The doll came in a nice cardboard box. Inside, everything is packed into a tote bag with the doll and the accessory box in it. Let's start with the accessory box, because there's some interesting stuff that we ordered there.
Yes, the doll belongs to Barb, but I wanted a piece of the smart doll world too. There is what's called the Chaos Outlet on the smart doll website, and you can find defective, discontinued or test products at a lower price there. Normally, this is limited to in-store only purchases, but since the store is now closed, Danny has brought the opportunity to everyone. We jumped on it, since the store is in Japan, and we have no plans of visiting in the near future. We got 2 bundles of 2 random blank heads, and we received 2 in the shade of milk, and I think this one is Kizuna, and this one is Genesis. The other 2 are in the cinnamon shade, like our doll, and I think they are both Cheetos' face mold. I'm excited to repaint them in the future.
I ordered a pack of spare hands for some cute poses, a pair of black pumps, cause every woman needs a good pair of black pumps, spare eyes in both semi-real and anime style to have something to put into the blank heads. There's the wig that came with the doll. The basic telescopic stand was also included with the doll.
Do not feed after midnight.
And I ordered an additional air stand. Now it's time for the main attraction, the doll herself. Her name is Eugenie, cause I call her Genie, like Genesis, but I wanted to change her name, and the short version works for both those names. I think it's a nice homage. I was so afraid to touch her to not ruin her or stain her. That has changed in the past few weeks. I've gotten more comfortable handling her. She's huge. Like, I knew she would be much bigger than the Monster High dolls we're used to, but I couldn't gauge the size just from looking at the pictures. To me, that's an advantage though, as I mainly got her for sewing and you can add much more detail to bigger garments. Her wig was a bit tricky to put on.
Yeah, it took a lot of time to figure this out. Barb got a bit frustrated, so I gave it a try as well. And it turned out that it wasn't as easy as it seemed. We made it work though.
When we put her all together, I was just sitting there staring at her. She's literally perfect. It's beautifully designed and made. There's a lot of detail. She's so cute. We took some welcome photos of her, and since I knew she would be coming basically naked, I decided to sew one of the free patterns from the Smart Doll website before she arrived. I chose the romper and decided to put a color block twist on it. Now, I know that there are tutorials for this romper on YouTube. Sam Sally Under Orange put out hers a few days ago, and she's a great source of Smart Doll sewing tutorials if you're into that. Definitely check her out. I'll show you my version of the romper though, so I hope you enjoy. A little bit about the pattern. You have to add your seam allowances before you cut it out. You should have the following pieces: back and front pant, front and back top, belt casing, belt, and 2 bias strips. This is the color block palette Alex chose for me because I suck at colors, and I'll be cutting my pieces accordingly. I split the front top piece into 2 and added a seam allowance to put it back together. Now these. Funny story. I thought, why are these crossed out? Am I supposed to not use them? And no, it's just how the pattern informs you that you need to cut this on the bias, which is at 45 degrees to the grain of the fabric. I didn't have a lot of this color I wanted to use for the straps, so I'll be patching things up. I have a lot of short bias pieces, and my casing is also in 2 pieces. I'll start with the casing. I'll just sew it right sides together at the short edge where it was supposed to be cut on the fold. Now, my bias strips. And I cut my belt pieces on the bias too, since my cuts were already going that way anyway. I'll be joining them at a 45-degree angle to reduce the bulk when it's folded to be bias tape. The easiest way to do it is fold the seam allowance on one of the pieces to make a crease, or you can mark this with a pen or both apparently, and you'll want to line it up so that the crease or the line touches the edges of the tape you're connecting to. That way, when you unfold it, the edge will be continuous. You can now press the seam open and trim off the dog ears or the bits that stick out. Pressing is really important, don't skip it. Now that I have the strip long enough, I can trim it according to the pattern. To make it into bias tape, you need to fold it in half, wrong sides together, and press. And then fold the edges again to meet with that crease you just made. And after you've pressed that, fold it along the original fold, the one in the middle, and give it a press again. This is pretty time consuming, so if you're not willing to commit to that, you can buy pre-creased bias tape. I made up this pin technique for me to be easier to press with steam, as my iron likes to shoot out steam onto my hand when I have it too close. On the 2 belt pieces, you'll want to prepare one edge to be finished. Simply unfold the creases, fold the short edge in, and press it back together. You'll want to press all of the strips into the bias tape, but not the belt casing. This thing needs to be folded over once on all of the edges and pressed like so. To finish the preparatory steps, let's stitch the belt strips together, just one running stitch along the folded over edges. To make it easier to start sewing on your machine, you can gently tug on the starting threads. You'll also want to secure the short edge of the belt casing. Now this step is for those of you who will do the collar block thing. We have to join the front piece together, and before I do that, I'll finish this edge. My machine has an overlocking stitch, but you can use a zigzag stitch instead. I actually switched to zigzagging somewhere along this project because it saves on thread. Now a straight stitch along this edge and we can get into the serious sewing. The back has a slit for the stand, so you'll have to mark that on your piece to know where to stop sewing. I'll be sewing from the top down to the slit, backstitch, then from the bottom of the slit, backstitch first and go to the bottom. Press the seam open. Now from the right side, I will top stitch around the slit to make sure nothing frays or rips. Now I'll add the bias tape to the top of the back piece. I cut my bias strip a bit longer for this so I can trim it later. You unfold the tape, put the raw edge of the tape and the edge of the back piece right sides together and sew in or close to the first stitch. Then you fold the tape back to how you pressed it, encasing the raw edge and sew close to the fold like so. Apply the bias tape to the front piece in the same way. The reason it's cut on the bias is for the tape to be able to curve around the edges. If you cut it on the grain, it will look bad. Trust me, I've tried to cheat and it didn't look good. Now we need to add a small dart in the middle of the top piece, so just fold it in half. I eyeballed the length of the dart. I trimmed the extra bias tape and I will start to add the straps. Start at the side seam of the front piece and follow the armhole with the bias tape. Find the respective side seam on the back piece, in my case they were the same color, and pin the bias tape along the armhole curve, leaving some bias tape in between the pieces. If you cut the tape to the right length, you just need to match up the tape with the side seams. Stitch in the tape ditch on both pieces, but skip the loose tape. Fold the tape back as it was pressed and stitch the edge, this time stitching in the loose strap as well. Repeat on the other armhole. I finished all the remaining raw edges with a zigzag stitch, and we'll move on to constructing the pants. Sew the front and back seams right sides together along those curved edges and press seams open. Take the front of pants and front top and stitch them together at the waist. If you did the collar blocking, make sure you line up the vertical seams together. You can check that by putting in 2 pins close to the seam you're matching and folding it to the right side to check. If you're happy, then proceed with sewing. I will be matching all my seams, but the front seam is the only one that will be visible. Repeat the same thing with the back pieces. Now we're gonna sew the side seams, and again, if you want to be proper, align the seams nicely. Now we're gonna hem the legs. Pin from the right side, because that's the side we'll be sewing from. The top stitch the machine does always looks better than the one from the bobbin. It's easier to sew this with the romper wrong side out. Now let's top stitch the belt casing. Align the back seam with the middle of the casing. You want the casing to be curving up towards the bust. Pin it evenly on the waist seam and top stitch around the long edges of the casing. Don't sew the short sides or you won't be able to put in the belt. This one is also easier to sew with the romper wrong side out. Sew the inner leg seam right sides together, matching the seams nicely as we did before. The pattern calls for 17 centimeters of elastic and I had a little bit less of it, but it still worked fine. Top stitch the elastic to the raw edges of the belt pieces we made at the beginning. Finally, thread the belt through the casing and we're finished! Let's see how it looks on Jeannie. I absolutely love this doll. Sewing for her is a joy. I can add a lot more detail and actually properly construct garments for her, because she's big enough. I made these for her before she arrived and quickly put in some ribbon to tie them. Unfortunately, they were too big on her, but I'm planning to redo them in the near future. I would love to make some more smart doll content. It would be a little bit more sewing and fashion centered, as that's predominantly what I do and enjoy in doll customizing.
I will definitely make a video of repainting the blank faces. Would you like to see more fashion and sewing videos, BJD and smart doll content? Let us know in the comment section below.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram for some sneak peeks and subscribe for future videos. Have an enchanted day, and we'll see you next time. Bye! In today's video, we'll be doing something a little different. We're unboxing my new smart doll...